Have you been washing your car the wrong way? Well, probably not, but we want to show you the absolute best way to do it. Using a pre-wash step, a 3-bucket method, and high-quality GYEON products, you can get the absolute best results like we'll show you on this BMW, and make sure the methods are safe for your car. Let's wash this the GYEON way. So we just wanted to bring you guys along and show you how us at GYEON tend to wash cars. No, you're gonna be washing at a bunch of different locations. You might be in a driveway like this, or you might be in a pay and sprayer, but we typically don't recommend the auto washes or the ones with the beaters because, well, it's gonna typically damage your car. So we wanted to bring you along, show you the proper way and the proper methods, as well as the tooling to make sure that you are not scratching your car while washing it. And that's gonna be the typical thing that happens when you wash it the wrong way. So we got this nice big detailing bag from GYEON. Inside of it, we have a variety of products. We have silk dryers, we have wash mitts. In the end, we actually have our wheel and tire cleaner because those actually have a plastic liner, so in case any of it leaks out, it won't soak the bag or whatever it's on. Then we have our 3 buckets that we'll be using, our wash bucket, our rinse bucket, and our wheel bucket, as well as the wheel tools that we're gonna be using there, some brushes and tire brushes. We don't wanna use any of those and put them in the rinse bucket or the wash bucket so that they would get into the paint because the wheels tend to be the dirtiest part of the car. And then last but not least, we have the pressure washer, one that's gonna be pretty much available at your local hardware store. Really easy to use, they work well. And then we also have a foam cannon for spraying the foam pre-wash on there. No, it's not a GYEON one. It's actually just a sticker. So first things first, we're gonna hit the wheels. We always like doing the wheels first because those tend to be the most gross and grimy part of a car. Generally that's due to brake dust on there, but also they're the only thing that's like seeing the road. So we always wash this first before we do the paint. If you do it the other way around, when you're rinsing the wheel, some of that could get on the freshly cleaned paint. So wheels first, that's a must. Products we're using, GYEON tire cleaner, GYEON iron wheel cleaner redefined. This is the new better smelling one. It also works a little bit better. It's still gonna cling to the wheels nicely, especially in the barrels when you're trying to work past those dust shields and stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. Now we're gonna use these dry. We generally recommend doing that. We get a question a lot about, should I rinse the wheel and tire off first? No, these products are designed to be used on a cool temperature dry wheel. So that's how we're gonna use them. The cool thing about tire cleaner is it's gonna kind of show you when the tires are clean as you're agitating it. So spray a good amount on there, and then we're gonna use this a little bit shorter fiber brush to scrub it on there. And you wanna look at the suds. If the suds are white, it's clean. These ones don't look too bad. But if they have yellowness, there's like a nice yellow hue in the suds, then that means that you're removing that blooming, which is gonna be that like browning that you normally see on tires. Also, watch your knuckles on the concrete. I do it all the time. It hurts. Try to avoid doing that if possible. This one, I think we're just gonna have to clean once. It's looking pretty good. So I'm not gonna hit it again. You might have to use this a couple times, rinse it off in between, as well as rinse off your brush in between as well. Then we're gonna go ahead and move straight into the wheel cleaner. I'm gonna spray a good amount in here. Make sure you spray in the barrels as well. It's gonna be the hardest part to clean, so you want a good amount of product on there. This one's gonna turn purple like the last version of iron wheel cleaner did. It's just those iron particles kind of having a chemical reaction and removing them from the paint in your wheels. It's also safe to be on coated wheels, raw metal wheels, any type of wheel finish. Then we're gonna use this nice big bottle brush to get in here. These ones are gonna be nice to get around that dust shield, as well as like in between the spokes here. Now the hard part about not just these wheels, but a lot of BMW wheels are there's a lot of tight areas in the spokes. So for that, we're gonna use a little bit smaller, it's almost like a paintbrush, but it's gonna be soft bristle brush that'll be safe to use on these wheels. And I'll show you that in a second here. But you can see it turning purple. The product itself isn't purple. Like I said, that's actually a chemical reaction happening. So I'm gonna use this brush here. See, it's kind of like a paintbrush. It's nice soft bristles that we can go and kind of sneak in there and work in the tighter areas. We're also gonna use this on the lug nut holes. It's also a great tool to use on calipers if they're powder coated or painted or whatever. You want to get that brake dust off there. Also a little bonus tip, put ceramic coating on your calipers as well as your wheels. And then to finish it off, somewhere in this bucket, I have a longer bristle brush that we're going to use to just hit the face here. Something to keep in mind while you're doing this is, especially when you're doing tire cleaner and wheel cleaner at the same time, you want to try to make sure the product doesn't dry on there. That's usually when you have issues with like water spotting and stuff when using products, is it's dried. So that's why we are washing in the shade today. We highly recommend doing that. That is good to go. Now it's time to rinse. So another question we get all the time is if you should rinse the car off before you foam it. Well, the whole idea of a foam pre-wash is that it goes on the grime and all that grit that's on here that should be rinsable, and emulsifies it, it holds it in the foam, and then when you rinse it off after, it rinses off with the foam. So does it hurt? No. Is it necessary and will it make a difference? Probably not. You might have noticed that I'm kind of rinsing it off in a weird way. What we like to do is actually rinse bottom to top when you're rinsing the foam off. Now what this does is allow you to see the areas where you've rinsed off. You can do top to bottom if you want. The results are should be very similar, but we like to do it to ensure that the pressure washer tip has sprayed onto the whole surface of the car, ensuring that all that nitty-gritty stuff has been rinsed off before we go to the hands-on step next. Now it's time to get into the fun part. For that, we're going to use a wash pad, and this is going to be actually our mitt that we're going to be using today. It has two different side fibers. One's going to be a little bit shorter, one's going to be a little bit longer. We're going to pretty much use the long one exclusively just to help reduce any chance of scratching or marring on the paint. And we're going to be using Bathe. This is our tried and true, just straightforward pH neutral shampoo. Super slick, super sudsy, and we're going to be putting this one in the wash bucket. This one is actually just pure water. So the idea behind two different buckets is this one's going to have the shampoo. We're going to mix it with the pressure washer before we use it. The wash mitt will come out of here. It's going to go onto a portion of the car. Depending on the size of the car, you can work a smaller section or a bigger section, but we're splitting this car up probably in about 6 different parts. We're going to wipe the mitt on that part in straight motions. You don't want it to be circular motions, straight motions. Then once we've hit that whole area, we're going to bring it back and it's going to enter the rinse bucket. Now in the rinse bucket, we're actually going to agitate it, and that will allow all that dirt and debris that we removed onto there and got embedded in here. It's going to fall into the water in this bucket, and then we're actually going to wring it out over the ground to get that last little bit of dirtiness out of this before it goes back into the suds bucket, and then we go to the next part of the car. Generally, you want to work top down. It's just a good kind of practice for this step. And luckily, this car's pretty small. We also have a smoothie available, which is going to essentially be this, but double-sided. So partway through, you can flip it over and just kind of enlarge your working areas. All right, now I'm just going to do this side area, probably stop above the rear wheel and do the door. What I like to do is actually kind of squeeze it above, get that suds to drip down and spread that all over. Does it help? Maybe, maybe not, but I like to do it. Okay. Make sure you get in the door handle. Lots of grime and stuff likes to hide in there. And super important on the sides, we're not gonna touch the rocker panels until last. So I'm gonna go here. I'm probably gonna stop right there at the bottom of the door. Go to this section. And once again, I'm not gonna do that. I think we'll actually touch that up right at the end, because like the wheels, that area tends to be really dirty. Come a little closer so I can show you what we're actually doing in the bucket. So I'm gonna go ahead and like use my hands and actually agitate these fibers and help all that dirt and stuff that was stuck in here after we just wiped on the panel, help that float in this water and then eventually fall down to the bottom of the grit guard. So just kind of work your hands around it and then bring it out. And we like to wring it out there just to make sure you get every last little bit of that dirty water off. And I kind of like to do something similar on the bumper as I do in the side skirts. I kind of like to do the bumper last. So I think we will actually go ahead and save that for the end, like we're doing with the rocker panels there. Careful on the license plate. They're really good at cutting your fingers. Like I said, fortunately this 3 Series ZHP is a fairly small car. You know, if you're doing a big, say F-250 or something, you're gonna have to work a lot of sections. Maybe you can get a slightly larger wash mitt. But just take your time, you know, it's not, the one thing you wanna kinda try to avoid is the product drying on there. So another reason not to do it in direct sun. It's a little breezy here today, but it's not bad. And I will also say another kind of rule of thumb that you don't have to do, but it's kind of a good thing is like if you hit an area once, you don't have to go back over it again. It's kind of redundant if you've hit it properly one time. It basically increases the chance of you adding scratches to your car again. So I'll go ahead and work this way around the front now. You know, since this is a pretty good size hood, I might go ahead and actually split this front up into 2 different sections. I'll do the hood and the fender, the bumper, and then I'll go ahead and do the rocker panel and that rear bumper last. Also, I do want to point out that this car is coated with GYEON. I believe it does have can coat on it. It's a great product, check it out if you haven't tried it. But you might notice it's beating pretty well, and that is because of that product. Cool, so whole top of the car's done. I'm gonna hit the side skirts and the bumpers. I think I'm actually gonna rinse in between this front, the passenger side, and then the back bumper as well. Sometimes I forget which one's which. You wanna make sure you put it in the rinse bucket first. Last but not least, the bumper and the other side skirt. And for like the side skirt and stuff, I like to just try to do it in one single wipe if the mitt's big enough. Just kind of touch it once, and that's should be all it needs when it's coated. So I mentioned that this car does have can coat on it. I believe it didn't have it on the hood, but why are we gonna use wet coat anyways? If you guys haven't heard of this, it's a spray sealant that you spray on a wet car and rinse off immediately. But also, it's just a great ceramic coating topper. And make sure that those water characteristics are still there. It also slightly enhances the gloss on cars that aren't ceramic coated. You can use it on that as well. It's the wheels, the windshield, it's safe for every exterior surface. So we're just gonna use it to kind of like touch up the ceramic coating and make sure it lasts as long as it can. So to give you an example of what this exactly does, it's kind of like sheeting this area. It was kind of sticking a little bit. So all I'm gonna do is do a light little mist right there. And you can see, adds instant beads. So ideally you have like a forced air blower, or some people use their leaf blower. But for most of us that don't, we want a high quality microfiber towel. This is the Silk Dryer EVO. This is the large size and it holds an insane amount of water. Typically want to just pull it across, let the towel do the work, don't put any additional pressure, and as you can see, it pretty much dries the whole surface. It's obviously a little bit different when you have pieces on here like this shark fin antenna, for instance. But once again, just touch where it needs to be touched and don't excessively do it if you don't have to. And this single one should be more than enough to do this whole car. We'll say it does help when you have a nice coating on your car or some form of protection that allows it to bead, so a lot of the water will fall off. It's a little bit more tricky when you're talking about the sides, right? You typically don't want to put this on the wheels. You don't want to bring your stuff from your wheels up. We've already washed them. They should be okay, but just in case, maybe there's something in like the lettering on the tire that you could pull up. Also, once again, I like wiping the side skirt last, just a precaution. So for the side, I usually hold it on the top side, and then as I go across, I use my left hand to kind of wipe any sort of areas that the towel might not touch. This has some like nice little rain channels along here that likes to hold water, but if I just poke the towel in there as I'm moving it along, it does a pretty good job of drying it all. Door handles are something that will probably drip for a day after, so just keep that in mind. Touch it up with a like GYEON quick detailer if you have that. If any drips come out, try to hit them as soon as you can. But the bottom part's a little bit more difficult, of course, because you do not let your drying towels touch the ground. If you do that and then put it onto your car, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can help you after that one, but just try to not do it. So I like to hold it up so that the bottom of the towel is as low as I want to go, and then just lightly wipe around the area. Mirror, you got to be a little bit aggressive, obviously, another thing that's probably going to drip for a while. But any sort of trim pieces, just make sure you get around those. They like to hold a lot of water. And yeah, just work your way around the car. Like this, I mean, we've done a lot of the car and you can see how wet it is. It holds an insane amount of water. You can do it different and just keep pulling around the same panel, something like that if you want to. Obviously, for complicated areas like a grill or like a rear bumper or something, it's gonna be hard to dry it all with a towel. Like I said, some sort of forced air blower is ideal, but I feel like most of us don't have that at home. So you can just take your time, work it in. The grills are gonna be the hardest part, but just once again, make sure it doesn't touch the ground. And what I like to do is basically dry 95% of the car. Afterwards, we can touch it up with a nice like plush. We have a soft wipe from GYEON. It's gonna be a nice plush towel that you can touch up that final bit. If you really need to, spray a tiny bit, miss a tiny bit of detailer in there so the towel is not as grabby on the surface in case you wipe it over any like dry spots. But we're gonna go ahead looking pretty good. Got the rear to do still. And I do want to point out that this is it's a two-sided towel, but you don't want to put the side with the logo on the surface that actually is supposed to hold the water. And then this side, if you want to come check it out, this side has longer fibers. These help pull the water up, and then it gets held in these tightly woven fibers in the backside. So typically you just want to put the longer fiber side on your car. As the towel does get saturated, you might have to use different parts of it. Kind of check it out. Okay, we got a dry spot there. So we use that if it's starting to not pick up as much once you get towards the end of the car. And then we just have one side left. You know, if you guys want to see more videos like this, kind of more behind the scenes, more DIY relatable stuff, let us know in the comments. This is something we like doing a lot here at GYEON, just washing cars. So we can do it and show you guys, bring you guys with, show you some behind the scenes tips and stuff if you want. But yeah, I mean, she's pretty much done. I mean, that's still got more to go. One towel, one car. Glad you guys were able to join us today for this driveway wash video. Hope you guys learned a thing or two about the methods, and any of the GYEON products you saw in this video are available on GYEONUSA.com. If you guys like detailing content in general, also consider subscribing. I'll catch you all later.